Welcome to Momentum Mode. Today will be a discussion between Mike and I, but before that, we want to thank our sponsors, Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Stockton. Also, Mike's company Improve, AI for financial services providers, and Appearance Ventures, my organization, venture capital for EdTech and MarTech. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to Momentum Mode. I'm Corey.
Mike.
And today we're going to talk about verticalization. And specifically, when you're building software companies, you end up building them more times than not end up around a vertical.
Yeah.
And at least that's real popular right now, building vertical specific capability. And in some industries, you just have a need for special technologies. Others, even when you have general purpose technology, it has to be custom fit because the use case is different. Yep. And Mike, your current company, you have Improve, you have selected a vertical who's been which vertical has been anointed with your presence?
Yeah. We're building the AI operating system for RIAs, as we call it, independent financial advisors.
So registered
investment advisors.
RIA. So let's start out with, how does one pick a vertical to go into? Like, how did you decide, like, I don't have a general purpose capability, like I need to go into a vertical?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah. It was an iterative process, like everything.
Of course.
Next draft, you know me. So we had built a general purpose version of Improve that was being used primarily by early stage founders, right? So we looked at it like, hey, we're going to build what we need for ourselves.
And what did Improve do at that point?
Yeah, so what Improve does is it takes input from wherever your work is happening. So, common input would be like your meeting transcript, right? Could be something from your calendar, from your emails, basically just wherever. You could be walking down the street, do a voice memo. Try to be in the background and take in the inputs and then provide convenient next agentic actions. So, okay, meeting notes are obviously the most simple, light bulb-esque, basic feature one, but draft my follow-up email, put something on my calendar. We started getting deeper into our own relationship manager. So, hey, Corey is a mentor. Every 90 days or so, I should be checking in with Corey. I'm terrible at that, right?
But this helps you remember.
Yeah. Hey, it's been 90 days since you talked to Corey. Here's what you talked about. I'll draft for you the follow-up email. And whether it should be another meeting or just an async touch point, it was like, okay, now I as an entrepreneur, can run more on autopilot, knowing that all my stakeholders, are going to be managed well and my next actions are saving me time. So we knew that was going to be more of a general lane that we wanted to land in. But we thought entrepreneurs were an interesting starting point because obviously me as an entrepreneur, I think any person in any job or employee should view themselves as an entrepreneur. Reid Hoffman has a great book, The Startup of You. And so then we started mapping. So we thought whatever we build for entrepreneurs can probably be applied at a general level to other roles. And then we tailor more.
It's funny you picked entrepreneurs because that's the universe you lived in.
Well, you know it. Yeah. It's like, okay, now we can kind of eat our own dog food per se. So then we had a list of roles that we were interested in for one way or another. I mean, we sat down with you, we were talking through it. And financial advisors came about organically. They were not on that initial list. We had some exposure to it. I went through a financial advisor training in college. I was a finance major. I ran our little informal Buffett club, right? That was me. Danny, my co-founder.
Some familiarity.
Yeah, right. Danny was at JP Morgan Chase. His wife's in wealth management. So we knew the space, but I became a client when our first company, Packback, sold to one of our angel investors. We had 5 that were wealth managers. And it was in the onboarding process, as my wife and I were in these different intake forms and first meetings, that after one of the meetings, and I saw all the work going on with the staff around my advisor, that I called them up, or actually first I texted. I said, hey, what's going on with AI in your space? The reply back was, I could talk your ear off for an hour. This will either 10x us or we'll totally miss the window. And cat's out of the bag. They're not going to miss the window. There's more and more competitors coming into the space. But that was the start for us of, okay, this is an interesting signal. It was a different, more potent signal than we were hearing from entrepreneurs. Before that, we were doing some things with middle managers. And so then it was next 25 interviews were the next action. Reached out to everybody we knew in the space. They made more intros. And this was toward the end of 2024. By the beginning of 2025, we were all in.
I remember having a meeting with you and you were like, hey, I'm considering this market. I was like, wow, that's a really interesting one. Like yourself, I only had personal experience interfacing with some folks in the market. And you were like, yeah, I know. We're going to talk to about 25 people. You know,
Yeah.
like that was key to you though, was getting to those people and getting that the better definition of the problem.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time. Like it's understanding the hero, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The ICP, ideal customer profile. But we like to think of it as the hero in their journey.
Yep.
And where are there moments of pain or nuisance or time that's being sucked in the wrong places? And so we just thought that was pretty potent in this space, right? It's not a big secret. Others have come into the space as well. So then it's this question of like, okay, when you're building a tool on top of AI, back to the topic of the episode, verticalization, where's the moat? Where's the differentiation? And so for us, that's a combination of the creativity of like how uniquely you can map the product to what they actually need. We have 3 core buckets. Their back office agentic staff, so the thing that takes the notes and then drafts the follow-up, does this or that. The relationship manager. And then we have a content studio where we map all. Financial advisors are very interesting to me. I worked with college professors, right, for 10 plus years with Packback, and we were helping them scale 300 students, 1,000 students. I think financial advisors, and I have some questions for you on this, are in a similar state right now where they are going to be pressured or are already to scale. Right. And I hear metrics like, hey, every 75 or 100 clients that we take on, we have to hire another associate.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a cost that we're not saying you remove entirely, but could you scale to that being like 150 clients per next hire? So we just thought it was like a pretty potent pain point. And the content side played well into the relationship side, which fed off of the input from like meetings. So we just started going down that road, and we offer then a service layer to differentiate as well, like just work closer with that end client versus, hey,
understanding their problem at a really granular level.
Yeah, because if you just put like a storefront up,
Yep.
I compare it to like the light bulb, right? You can get a note taker anywhere. And if we're just being transactional, it's like, I don't think that's how you go vertical in building at this moment in time where everybody has access to the LLM.
Well, so I think what you're seeing, what you're doing is what we're seeing across other verticals and such as well, right? People are talking about AI in terms of the generic sense, but the reality is it's getting applied in a very, very specific, very verticalized sense. And the vast majority of the population doesn't have the capability of taking a generic AI engine and going to a screen and prompting it and getting the vertical specific results they want out of it, right? So let's look at a bit of the financial advisor world as a bit of a case study of this. So how is it evolving in the industry? Like what's happening? Is everyone going, leave me alone, I've already got it? Or they're like, give me the tools as quick as you can. What are they trying to get out of it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the adoption curve, of like having meetings generate a transcript, for example. With Packback, we adopted Gong in like 2020, right? I think compared to
Great
sales
tool.
tech, it's like the adoption curve has been a little bit behind. Now I think as we enter summer 2025, like it's accelerating very fast. It'll be ubiquitous very soon that you do your virtual meetings and you have a note taker in there. The note taker itself is like not the story at all. You can get a note taker anywhere. And yes, it is better to have it tailored to the use case of like what output you want, but we just think a note taker is going to be so commoditized within, I don't know, maybe 6 months.
Aren't they already?
Or if not already, right?
Yeah.
But it's the connective tissue of, okay, those notes then go somewhere that builds what I call compounding context over time, kept track of, and then injected into these different applications. So you have a content studio of writing relevant articles that I don't, curating or writing that rather than telling Corey, here's my article of the week, say, hey, Corey, I found this on CNBC, or I wrote this article. Remember that question that you asked last meeting 6 months ago? Right. And now I'm demonstrating perfect memory. Here, this is relevant because of that. By the way, I hope, Melanie and the kids are doing well. Oh, right. My advisor knows me really well. Right. To be able to do that when you have, let's say, not 75 clients, but 150 or 200, compare yourself to an advisor who's not AI augmented. Right. That advisor is not going to be able to keep up. So the reason we love RIAs is they're the startups of advisors. I know there's large aggregators, but even at the individual level, like they're the startups compared to your Goldman or the large BDs, broker dealers. And so if the broker dealers are slow on the AI adoption curve, to me, there's a clear wedge of use AI to then have the race to value add moments accelerated for this like upstart RIA.
Yep.
But anyways, that's
Yeah, so it's funny. You're probably too young. There's a movie, Michael Keaton movie, late 80s, early 90s, Multiplicity is called. And
Okay.
he was a father and he was stretched too many ways. So he had himself replicated, cloned.
I need to watch
and everything
it. I've
was
never
great.
seen that.
And everything
Yeah.
was great. And then he had the clone and it kind of worked out. And the clone did
Yeah,
things
yeah.
for him. And then he had one more clone made. And then the clone said, well, wait a minute, I'm going to get myself cloned because I get. And all of a sudden they started having issues with each of the clones of clones weren't going good.
Yeah.
And they had a problem. So how much fidelity can these, like, so what you're trying to do is clone them, right? You're trying to extend them out. How far can they be extended out? Or are there just clear things that they're going to have to do always? Or are they going to be able to tune this thing to a point that,
All right, there's big debate happening in this space around whether the advisor, and I think this is happening in all services, right?
Yep.
Service businesses, lawyers as well. Does the advisor get totally wiped out?
Yep.
And there's a lot of VC money going into that.
it's a great example of what other verticals are talking about. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So it's like there's one school of thought that, oh, no, this gets totally wiped out to an AI advisor, period.
Yep.
And then our school of thought is the human in the loop and the trust factor when you're talking about your family's finances, you're talking about kids' college savings, all this. I think indefinitely going to be a period where you still want the human to be at the center of the system.
Yeah.
Now, do I care whether that human has 300 clients
Right.
or 100 or 500? Like, I don't think so.
I care
so long as I
based-
know them.
I only care based on the service I'm getting.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's the real key. In so many of these industries, it's about the personal me.
Yeah.
Right. And what service am I getting from you? Do I care if AI is helping you deliver me that service?
Yep.
Probably not.
Yep.
As long as I'm getting the service that I fully trust, has the fidelity that I want it to have, et cetera. Right.
Yep.
So like that's the key is I couldn't tell you how many clients my financial guy has. I
Yeah.
have no idea. I don't care because I get the service that I want.
Well, so let me ask you that. So, okay, you've got an advisor. What keeps you tied to an advisor versus going to something totally AI?
The volume of questions I would probably have to answer.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. When I sit down with him and I talk goals.
Yeah.
He then tells me things that will take care of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now I don't know enough to choose between them.
Yeah.
But he will say this, that, and I can ask some questions and try and sound intelligent. Luckily, I'm married to someone who works in financial services, so she asks better questions than me. But like, okay, got it. And at the end of the day, I now know I can trust him. If an AI put 10 ideas in front of me and then asked me to evaluate them, I'd be like, I don't know, which one do you think?
Yeah.
And what they might not know is, and I've been with him for over 20 years, like what they might not know is, hey, my last kid's in school, but it's medical school, so it's a couple extra years. So that's going to keep that in mind. And our plan is to, sell that house, but, we want to possibly buy in a warmer climate, and would I have built all that context with the AI? Is the AI going to say, hey, I got 3 other clients in the same spot. You want me to introduce you to one? And
Yeah,
they'll give you an
right,
understanding.
right. Yeah.
Like that, once again, that personal touch, that understanding of context and the understanding of the vehicles and knowing my level of sophistication or lack of sophistication and how to explain it to me. I feel like AI is just going to blunt force it right now. And maybe that changes.
Yeah.
But that's why I would be fine with heavily AI augmented.
Yeah.
But I want the person-to-person conversation.
Yeah, and I think I would envision a scenario for any service businesses, financial advisors, lawyers, whatever, because we've been clients on all those, right? Where there is an AI chat interface.
Yep.
Right? Like if I go on Fiverr right now and
Yeah.
hire a freelancer, I think they're doing a great job. I first have a chat with an AI. And it's as conversational as ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Right? But then once the moment occurs that I'm a qualified client for whatever I'm looking for, then the AI brings that person in, right?
Yep.
They're probably getting signals on the other end and then lays up the summary. So what I'd envision is, let's say you've got, I'm going totally theoretical, an advisor that's serving 500 clients, right? Which is beyond the bar of whatever he's doing right now. And I'm, as a client, like my generation, I think comfortable, if not preferring in some cases, to chat with an AI.
Yes.
But behind the scenes, it's all getting aggregated into the same system.
Yep.
And then my advisor is getting a signal, if it makes sense, that, hey, you should reach out to Mike.
Right.
He's thinking about these things. You should give him a call, both for client retention, but then also strategic talk.
Yep.
And then you're keeping this compounding context of the database going from both the advisor conversations and the AI conversations. We haven't done that yet, but this is where I think the future goes and why I would bet on the advisors staying in place, because if you can make for still reasonable costs
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I have the AI chat that a human who I trust is also, and that Corey also works with or whatever, connected to, versus there's an emptiness to pure AI.
Yeah.
Right? Like I spent a lot of time talking to it. There's an emptiness at the core of it.
Yeah, which is interesting because you'll find videos all over YouTube of people talking to AI.
The companion thing, like, I
well,
don't know.
well, the my wife was just reading an article yesterday about the teens basically having sex conversations with their AI buddy, right?
Crazy.
So that's
Yeah.
becoming real. So I think we're going to have a generation that comes up and is very comfortable talking to an AI. I think the movie Her is arrived.
Yeah.
It's just not Scarlett Johansson in all of our ear,
Right,
like it
right.
is there, right? It's but I think we have a couple of generations that still want that human interaction. And
Yeah.
if you're any vertical, as you think about verticalizing and offering, you are going to think about how AI is solving the problem, but how to keep human in that loop.
Yep.
Right. How to increase the productivity. I think that's the new vertical. Is
Yeah.
how do we increase productivity of the human and get more out of them? Some industries they'll be about replacing human, but services industries in particular, I think a lot of them it's going to be how to augment the human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I think this is a perfect example of that. As you're going down the path, what resistance do you find from the actual market, like the actual financial advisors?
Yeah, it depends on the segment,
Age?
right? So what's
The
that?
age of the advisor?
Well, so to a degree, yes.
I'm not surprised.
However, I mean, I wouldn't underestimate, the older crowd,
The
from
wily
still
old fox,
having
yeah.
a hunger for a competitive edge.
Yep.
Right now, if they're at a large broker dealer and it's legacy clientele, like maybe not,
Right.
Because their book is going to be these 30 households and that's it. But there are folks who run an RIA that are in their 60s, 70s. I talked to somebody who was 83.
Okay.
And he had a list of AI ideas. And so
Love that.
at the most fundamental level, having a task offloaded
Yeah.
to an assistant or an AI, I think there's a hunger for. But the pushback, everybody's going to have a comfort curve, including the client level, on whether a conversation is recorded, right? Whether something has access to my calendar. And what you do, back to purpose-built in verticalization, is you figure out the right way to then adhere to those concerns.
Yes.
So you could do what we call recorderless note-taking.
Yep.
So, okay, the transcript, can exist momentarily and have the AI parse out the relevant notes.
Right.
But don't keep the transcript if you
Right.
don't want it. Don't keep the audio if you don't want it. So there's ways to tailor, which is why it's helpful to have something purpose-built to a vertical and not just general purpose.
And you know what they care about. I mean, I had a situation the other day where I was working with a software trying to build out some stuff for our firm, and it says, well, we want access to your email.
Yeah.
And then I read the access. It was like, read, write, delete, send emails on your behalf, blah, blah, was one checkbox.
Yeah, right.
And then the next, read, write anything to your calendar, to your messages,
Yes.
your messaging system and so on. I was like, no, not using this software,
Yeah.
like way too intrusive, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted the value they were going to bring. But like if I was going
Yeah.
to have to open the kimono to somebody I didn't know, a software and a
Right,
company
right.
I didn't know and trust, and give them all that access, stop.
Yeah. So you're right about that. Perhaps more frightening is without a secured environment dedicated to
That's
a
right.
partner, you have your team, whether you know it or like it or not, likely, we hear this all the time, going to ChatGPT
Yep.
plus Zapier plus whatever. In these workflows and automations are being kind of duct taped together.
Yes.
And anything you share with ChatGPT, inherently the model's training on.
Yep.
Versus if you're a tool that's building upon the LLM through the API call, right? That's a secure
keeping it
connection. You're
siloed.
encrypting on transit, you're encrypting at rest. And so, like, yes, we have to go through all the compliance checklists, right? And in some ways, we can help with compliance.
But once again, that's how verticalization is. You know
Yes.
what the compliance checklist is for the vertical, right?
Exactly.
Why verticalization matters.
Yeah. So, like, you want to know what's going on.
Yes.
The more frightening thing is when you don't know what's going on. And
Right.
that's what happens when there's not a partner provided. So, I mean, this isn't necessarily just about improve, although I appreciate talking about it.
But it's interesting because
the
it's
legal
a great
thing,
it's a
all these
great
verticals.
case study of what's going on right now in verticalization of AI technologies and all the different considerations you got to take into account,
Yeah.
and why I think we both believe that the next wave of AI solutions, there's going to be a generalized AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of verticalized AI capabilities because the closer you get to a person's day-to-day tasks,
Yeah.
the less you can provide a general purpose product to a company.
Yeah.
It's got to be purpose-built.
Yeah. And I wonder if companies like ours are in some ways the new service company.
That's right.
What I mean by that is if I'm trying to build like this mass scale, like raise all the VC and blitz scale out of the box solution, you know, the level of service or tailoring or customization is not going to be there as much. And everybody else has access to the same LLMs.
Right.
And so we've talked about this, the tech competitive moat, you know, is harder to develop.
Yeah.
But if we are basically a hybrid is the way we think of it, Danny and I, a boutique that has the out-of-the-box SaaS offering.
Yep.
But then we're okay, like we're independent. We're okay not having, you know, 1 million clients.
Yes.
We can be selective, and maybe we don't become billionaires doing it, but
Right.
we build a healthy business. The unit economics are sound,
Great.
so you know you have longevity from working with a healthy partner. I heard this the other day. Somebody said something about like the more VC raised by a company, in the the war chest, right? The less vendor risk there is, which I think there's a different way to look at that.
I think it's,
if you've raised all that capital and you start burning, right? And then the economics get flipped.
Yep.
And now like, hey, you're one of a large portfolio. Like this is kind of go big or go home funding territory. Like you don't necessarily have less vendor risk because vendors raise a bunch of VC. And I'm not against raising VC. I did that in the previous company, but the main thing for sustainability is sound unit economics at the core.
Yep.
And we think like Sam Altman's quote of the future belongs to small, tight-knit teams augmented by AI. If we're providing that,
This might be the 5th episode you'd use that quote.
well,
but
it's
anyway.
the best. Like if that's what we're providing to our partners, like why wouldn't we also live by know that mentality?
Live it and do it. So, and I really do believe that what you're going to see is AI is going to be injected in all these. You're going to see some laggard people not wanting to adjust, but they're going to find a certain category of customer that wants it that way.
Yeah.
They want it the old way, right? I still want the really big guzzling car and I want to feel good about it, you know, the gas guzzler and so on. There's still a market for the muscle cars of the past, you know, even though we've moved way past that. So I don't think those businesses die, but I think their total available market shrinks.
Sure.
I think they, you know, and I think this is going to be an evolution faster than we saw with the web and faster than we saw with, we saw the web, mobile, and social as 3 kind of big waves, all had a big impact. This is the 4th wave of massive technology change. And it's probably going to go faster and probably hit harder, but it's probably going to be much more vertical than the previous ones were.
Yeah.
So with that, Mike, there you go. A little discussion on verticalization and the new world of AI.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.